Tim Kennedy had put out a post on X, formerly Twitter, about it was an anniversary of a fight, and he made comments about the rules and kind of insinuated Big John's responsible for an issue there, and it was obviously picked up.
Responsible.
Big John replied on X, and then John, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk about this and clear up anything that you might think is off here. Tim had posted on X, robbery anniversary and the end of my fight career. Dear Nevada Athletic Commission, NAC 467.728. If a combatant fails or refuses to resume competing when the bell sounds, the referee shall award a decision of TKO.
Okay. How about that? I guess I should come up with the Nevada Athletic Commission thing on grabbing people's gloves and punching them.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Look, here's the Josh. All right, Josh, I'm going to have you be the judge on this, okay? Because I'm just going to tell you the truth of what occurred.
John, why you always got to bring me in all your drama? Why I gotta be out here trying?
Okay, Dave, podcast Dave.
No, I can't let Tim. And I love Tim Kennedy, man. I like him a lot.
I love Tim,
but I can't let Tim Kennedy bully my boy around, man. We're not doing this.
First off, there ain't no bullying going on.
This is
he can sit there and he can come up with his stuff as far as robbery anniversary and end of my fight career. Well, he fought a guy named Kelvin Gastelum after that. So obviously it wasn't the end of his career. Maybe it was psychologically.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm not saying it wasn't, but what occurs in that entire thing, I used to sit and try to go through all kinds of different scenarios. So I would always have an idea of where to go when something happened. And, this is one that, I never thought I would have to figure out how do I get a cut man that works for the UFC back in a cage? Because, what occurs in this thing, and I have not watched it. I watched it when, after it happened, and because I wanted to figure out what do I do to handle this better, because there's always ways of handling things better. Mm-hmm. And I've always said, first off, Tim wanted me to do something to Yoel that wasn't fair. But I flat out honestly say it also wasn't completely fair to Tim. But
let me stop you
real
real quick.
Problem. Go ahead.
Let me stop you. We have to start this thing from the beginning, because a lot of these fans, the people that are listening to our show, they have no idea what you're talking about. This is how old we are. We're dating ourselves right now, John. Okay.
I don't even remember what UFC it was as far as the number. You'd have to look it up, Dave, to find out. But I want to say it was in September, though. I think I do remember that.
So Tim Kennedy's fighting Yoel Romero. That's the situation. Okay, and then
I will be honest. Tim had in the back, he talked to me about, hey, he's been known to to have problems holding himself, as far as he kind of shat himself against Derek Brunson. And it was called the Dookie Gate and stuff like that. He says, man, I don't want to be fighting someone like. I said, don't worry about that. If that occurs, this is what's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. And I went through it with him, right? Well, the fight happens in the second round, right near the end of it. Tim, and I don't see it, grabs a hold of Yoel's, it would have been Yoel's right hand, and Tim starts throwing his right hand, and he actually hurts Yoel, and Yoel goes back into the cage, and he cuts him over the left eye. And when he cuts him, he's going after him, but the bell sounds, I hear the 10-second clacker, and finally the bell sounds, and I stop it, and Tim, thinks he's the winner of the fight. And I said, nope, it's the end of the round. Go back to your corner. And he's almost a little bit, like, oh, what the fuck, And it's like, you hurt him, but you didn't hurt him that bad. It's not for me to be stopping the fight. So he goes back to his corner. I actually go back and I have a doctor come in and look at Yoel while I go to Tim's corner to check on Tim, just to look at him and make sure he's good. I go back, I talked to the ringside physician. He's fine. No problem at all. Let him go. And when I walk over to Yoel, I see that the UFC cut man, who has now left the cage, has taken Vaseline on that cut, and he's put a giant fucking glob and then smeared it going back to his ear. And I'm looking at and I'm thinking of both of them. Yoel is a guy who's a wrestler, but he likes to stand up. But Tim is a good grappler.
Oh yeah,
Tim's a damn good grappler. And I really, where I first figured out how good a grappler Tim Kennedy was when he fought Trevor Prangley.
Yeah,
he dominated
Yeah.
Trevor Prangley on the ground. I was like, God damn, he's good. And so the first thing that I thought about is I can't put Yoel back out with that Vaseline because it could have an effect on if Tim decides, this fight goes to the ground and he's trying to hold on to him. Now he's slipping out. You had the whole BJ Penn and George St. Pierre thing. So the Nevada State Athletic Commission inspector, Charlie Anzalone, I tell, get that cut man in here and get that wiped off because I don't want to touch Yoel's eye. If I touch the eye and I break the eye back open, I've altered the fight. So I don't want to be the one touching the cut. And so Charlie Anzalone tells Yoel, stay seated. He goes to get the cut man. And at about this time, Tim is now saying something, and he comes over. So now I'm walking Tim back saying, get yourself back to your corner. I'm not starting the fight till you're back in your corner. And then I walk back and Charlie Anzalone has brought in, not the cut man, he's brought in the corner man for Yoel Romero. So there was a mistake right there. Okay, now, was it my mistake? No, but I got to deal with it. So this guy's, first off, he's a Spanish speaker. He doesn't understand a fucking word I'm saying. And he's trying to figure out what they want. And I tell Charlie, get him the fuck out of here. Right? And I haven't gotten the cut man to come back in. Now, the problem is the cut man is hired by the UFC. He's not hired by Yoel. And the cut man that was with Tim, being, I think, Stitch at the time, he's not hired by Tim. So when the cut man doesn't come back in, or because the cut man put too much crap all over Yoel's face, that's not on Yoel's corner. Mm-hmm. That guy is independent of his corner. And so he's the one that's caused me the problem. He's the one that is, and this all goes down to, time and experience. That cut man at the time, he's a good guy, but at the time he hadn't been doing cuts for very long, and he has a pretty big fight, and he has now a stressful situation where he's got about a 2-inch long cut. So it's a good one, and he's trying to close it, and he's trying to hurry, and he hasn't learned all the little things that he can do at this point to, be really good at it. And so he makes a mistake. Now I've got to try to get them up and out, and the whole thing takes about a minute and a half. It's a minute 28 for that round, for me to start the round. Now, most rounds in the UFC, when you're talking about, pay-per-view shows or anything like that, based upon, Anik or Goldberg at the time, doing their reads and stuff, most of them start somewhere between 113 and 116. It's a little bit more than a minute. Yeah. Because you're waiting for someone to signal you to be able to start it. I've had people on Twitter say, when the bell sounds, the bell sounds. The bell doesn't sound, you dipshits. We don't have a bell. It
really is the ref going, you ready? You ready? Okay,
fight. That's it, right? And so it's like, there's no bell to start it. I didn't stop it off a bell. Shit. So finally I get, I tell you all, get up. Now, I should have done, looking back, and one of the things I figured, I should have made sure that I didn't allow Yoel to stay on that stool. Yeah. Because it just looked bad, because then you have Rogan, saying his stuff, because he doesn't know everything that's going on. He doesn't realize it's the cut man. Yeah. And so, I finally get him up. It's a minute 28 by the time I get him going. And then Tim gets rocked and he gets hurt and he loses the fight. And so that's the fight that he's talking about. And if you're going to say, could I have done something better? Yeah, I should have had Yoel stand up earlier. It doesn't matter what, normally the stool and all that is The Nevada Athletic Commission guy, either he'll assign it to a trainer or he'll actually bring the stool in, put it down, grab it out. He's the one responsible for your mouthpiece. He's going to say, you have your mouthpiece in, all that stuff, right? I should have taken, and I should have just said, no, I'm going to do it. I'll take over. But I was trying, we're a team. You kind of, let them do their job. You do your job. And so, Tim's upset about that fight. Okay. But how do I find, or how do I deduct points, or how do I DQ Yoel Romero when he didn't do anything wrong? It wasn't him. He was fine to go, according to the doctor, 30 seconds after the round ended. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it's not like he was loopy. And it wasn't his corner that created the problem. There was people now saying, oh, yeah, I remember they dropped ice. There was no ice dropped. Okay? There wasn't ice. It was the UFC's cut man was the one that created the issue that was what made the fight delay. And how do I find or DQ or eliminate points from one guy when that's not his corner? I couldn't do it. And trust me, I wanted to do something. I just looked and said, I can't. And now, I go back and I look and I say, is that completely fair to Tim? No, it's not. But it's the same as it wasn't completely fair that Tim hooked the glove of Yoel, and I didn't do anything about that, but it's so fast in the moment of time that, okay, you're going to have to fight your way through it. It is just what it is. And if you want to put blame, put blame. I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me.
You know where you have to go, for me, where I go with this as a fighter, from my perspective on this whole situation. Of course, with Tim, I'm thinking to myself, this guy's getting more time to recover. Sure. But all those things doesn't, to me, it doesn't really matter. As a fighter, this is what happens. He was on cloud 9 that he had rocked him right before the end of the round. And as soon as the round didn't start when it was supposed to sound, then everything went out the door. It didn't matter what Tim was doing. Tim's emotions, Tim's ebbed flow of his emotions, like, I've got him hurt. He's going to be done. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to finish this fight. And then that 10 seconds or 15 seconds extra.
It's like the guys jumping up on the cage thinking they won, and then they're told no, and you got to come back. It's like,
Michael Bisping and Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva thought he won. No, buddy, it's not over. Get in your corner. And that's where you're at. Like, there's fights. I've seen it too many times where the fighter drops the guy right before the round. Then the fighter's able to get up and stumble back to his corner, but he got back to his corner. Round starts back up. Oh, the fight was over. He thought he won because the ref waved it off. Like, hey, this is the round. Fighter thinks it's over. I've knocked him out. No, the bell went. This is it. Yep. You go back to your corner. He goes,
Daniel Weichel versus Patricio Pitbull the first time.
Yes. Yep. Thinking you win the fight, and then come back in the second round or third round, or whatever round it is in the next round, and your emotions got the better of you. Yeah. And I've seen it too many times. Well, you've seen it, I'm sure, more than I have. And it's like it's been something that's happened consistently. It's that you feel like you've won. Everything is your energy level, everything, your endorphins, all of that stuff gets so high. And then there's this little tiny thing, and you let it ruin everything. You let it get to you. You let it believe, and then all of a sudden you get in trouble. Then it's like a snowball. It really is like quicksand. It happens so fast, you don't realize. Next thing you know, your head's underwater, and you're getting finished, or you're getting choked, or you're like, shit, how'd I end up here? I was winning this fight. And then now what you want to do is you want to put blame somewhere. It's an unfortunate thing, unfortunate circumstances. But like you said, you go in the back and you explain to him, hey, the cut man is not employed by me. It's not employed by the fighter. It's employed by the UFC. And whatever he did, I have to fix it. You cannot have a big thing of Vaseline from your face all the way to the back of your neck. I just can't do it. Or to the back of your ear. I have to get it wiped off. And it's a shitty situation to be in. I mean, I would imagine for a ref, and I'm not deciding with you on it just because it's where you and I are here talking about it.
In the end, I actually was the one that wiped that Vaseline off, and I opened up his cut, and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
but
you can't have. That's the thing. Like, otherwise it would have taken another 30 seconds.
Yes. I couldn't get the cut man back in. And it was funny because after the whole thing, at the end of the fight, and Mark Ratner, who is, the vice president of regulatory affairs for the UFC, and he comes to me and he says, Johnny, he goes, why did we not take points from Yoel with it when his corner did that? And I said, Mark, that wasn't his corner. That was your fucking cut man. He goes, my cut man? And I go, yeah, I want you to think about it. This is what occurred. And he goes, shit, I'm sorry. He goes, we'll take care of that. And so it came up. It did come up in the press conference afterwards with Dana. And Dana, he basically says, yeah, he says, that was an unfortunate situation. He goes, but I've been told it's kind of like something that we need to fix and work out. So that was in the end. I was told, it was funny because at the time I wanted to talk about it. The Nevada State Athletic Commission at the time was run by Bob Bennett. He said, I don't want you, don't talk to the media about this, just let it go. He says, you did the right thing. You got it going as quick as we could. He goes, that's something that we're going to have to figure out how to deal with since it's their, the promotion's cut man, not the fighters.
Well, Mark Ratner was the commission, right, for Las Vegas for the longest time, right? And then he started working for the UFC.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he obviously knows. He knows the rules and what,
He
but
knows.
like from the outside looking in though, if he's going like, what the fuck's going on? What do you think the fighter's going through at that moment?
I totally understand how at the moment Tim was like, I'm getting fucked.
Yeah.
And like I said, in some way I agree. I look and I say in the end it wasn't fair for him, but there was nothing that I could do to make it fair for him.
Yeah. But here's
nothing was there within my power.